Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and following up my video about the falling price deals that we got for the New Year's, we're also going to get new avatar boards to kick off the year. So we'll go ahead and talk through the notice, kind of give my thoughts as we go along, and then at the end we'll talk about whether or not I think it's worth buying these. So here's 4 brand new Kingdom Hearts 2 avatar boards to kick off the year. Add them to your collection for 7,770 jewels apiece. So what this means is that this avatar board is going to be 3 times more than the regular avatar board. So a regular avatar board is going to cost 2,500 jewels. These are going to be a little bit more than 3 times that amount, so we're looking for more than 3 times the value. So let's keep going on here. You have about 14 days, about 12 days left to decide if you want to pick these up. And then the avatar boards are going to be 2019 gift bag Kingdom Hearts 2 Leon, Aerith, Sid, and Yuffie. So there are 2 new skills that were introduced into this these avatar boards. So attack boost 8 max and gauge 1. It's going to deal 2.6 times more damage and only uses 1 special attack gauge, has a 100% trigger rate. Remember for these skills that before you use the special attack, you have to have the initial gauge requirement. So for example, Supernova Sephiroth has a gauge requirement of 6. And even if you have this skill on that medal, you still have to have the initial 6 before it'll subtract the cost down to just 1 gauge. So for example, going in to Supernova Sephiroth with 8 gauges, you activate the medal skill, and then it's only going to consume 1 gauge, meaning you're left with 7 gauges left. But if you go into the medal with only 3 gauges, you can't even activate the skill because it had that initial gauge requirement of 6, even if you have the skill on there. So just keep that in mind, something to move forward for, especially if you're new. That's one very particular thing about this skill that you have to keep in mind. The next skill they introduced is Attack Boost 8 and AP Plus and Lux Plus. These skills have kind of fallen off the wayside just because they're not max skills. They're not reliable for 100% activation all the time. Even with skill perk, we'll get to that in just a little bit here. But even if it's not a super meta skill anymore, because nowadays there's more medals coming out than there are actual skills to support them, this can be useful for someone who has a lot of attack medals but not enough attack boost skills. So while it's not 100% activation rate, it is still a solid chance. And what do I mean by a solid chance? So let's go to my outfits here. So I have a dedicated skill perk outfit, and this is it here. So it gives me skill perk plus 37. Usually the non-max skills, especially the attack boost ones, have an activation rate of 54%. Now, I'm not sure if this is how it works. I haven't tested it myself yet, but I can kind of believe the math behind it. So this is kind of what people interpret that to be. So the new percentage of activation is going to be the skill's original percent, which in this case is going to be about 54%. And then you're going to multiply that times 1 point and then insert your skill perk there. So in my case right here, we have a skill perk of 37. It's going to be 0.54 for the medal's activation times 1.37, which adds on my skill perk, giving us a new percentage of 0.74, meaning that that skill is going to activate roughly 74% of the time. So again, it's not reliable, especially if you're doing things where you need consistent damage all the time, like high score challenges or Coliseum. It's really more useful for the things where you can hop in there multiple times without worrying about the AP cost. That way you can just keep trying and trying until it activates all the times that you really need it to. So again, keep that in mind. Not a super meta skill anymore, but still an attack boost skill that is able to push out extra damage. So here are the actual avatar boards themselves. So we have the Leon, the Aerith, the Sid, and the Yuffie. And what's nice about this is that whether you buy the male or female avatar boards, you're going to get a chance at each of the avatar board parts, which are the super awesome looking New Year's Chirithies. So you have the headpiece for either the guy or the girl, and it's going to be Chirithi popping out of a hat with another hat, and then it's going to be a back piece for Chirithi with balloons. And honestly, these are kind of cute, and I kind of want to get one just to have one of these New Year's Chirithis in a little bow tie and suit avatar parts. So that's one reason I would consider it, just honestly because avatar parts, they're supposed to help you with the game, yes, but they're also supposed to like help you as a player, kind of dress up your character. So keep that in mind. It's just really, really cool. And not only that, but it is the highest skill perk for that particular part, as far as I know. So the back piece gives you +9 skill perk, and then the head piece gives you +10. And that's as high as I think it goes. I think originally the highest was going to be +6 for the hat, and I think +8 for the back piece. I'm not really sure. I had to go into my actual outfits and double check that, but I'm pretty sure this is the highest that we've ever gotten so far. Also, you're going to get some really cool titles based on the characters themselves. It's going to be based on pretty much their final limits, or whatever you want to call them. So Leon's got Lionheart. Aerith has Grand Message, which is kind of strange because I'm pretty sure the original name for it was Great Gospel. That might have been for religious purposes, but I'm not really sure. Sid is going to have High Wind, and then Yuffie is going to have All Creation. So I think that's a really cool shout out to the individual characters themselves and their final limit breaks. It's also nice because all 4 boards are going to include all the same skills. So you're going to get Attack Boost 6 max and Lux++, Defense Boost 6, Attack Boost 8 max times 2, so keep in mind you're getting 2 of those, Attack Boost 8 max and Gauge 1, and then Attack Boost 8 and AP+, and Lux+, along with a Sun Gem and a Moon Gem, which are really, really hard to acquire, and 6 Fantasia Mickey B's, meaning that you get an instant guilt on any medal if you buy this avatar board. And if you buy 4 of them, you get 4 instant guilts. Like, even if you have a non-orbed medal, you have enough Mickey and Brooms from 1 avatar board in order to max it out all the way. So looking at the skills, there are realistically only 4 useful ones to all players, 1 useful one particular to PvP, and then 1 okay one. So the 4 useful ones to all players are the ones that have max next to that. And that's because, again, you're pushing out consistent damage. You don't have to worry about, like, oh, is my medal going to activate? Am I going to get all the damage I need? Which is particularly important for, like, high score challenges, coliseums, any sort of damage contest that we need to do. So keep that in mind that those 4 max skills are useful to all players. Defense Boost 6 is more so a PvP skill nowadays, just because it's going to mitigate some damage, allowing or denying your opponent from getting more damage on you, lowering their score, and allowing you a better chance at winning. I've only ever used it once outside of that. That was for, I think, one of the Organization 13 events in order to kind of just turtle my way through it. But aside from that, I really haven't been using Defense Boost 6 for much other than like extreme turtling missions, and we're talking about really hard ones, and then PvP. So those are the only 2 real instances where I've needed Defense Boost 6. I've never needed it for any sort of, like, any of the story stuff or Coliseum. It's irrelevant to have Defense Boost 6 almost, unless you're pushing those really high tiers. Defense Boost 6 isn't particularly useful at that high-end Coliseum. And then we talked about Attack Boost 8 and AP Plus and Lux Plus. Again, not super useful because it's not consistent damage, but if you're running out of skills and you have more attack medals than you do attack skills, it's definitely useful to have one of these Attack Boost 8s on there. So we're also getting the Sun and Moon Gems, again, really hard to acquire. As of right now, there's only certain ways you can get Sun Gems, which include the Proud Mode missions in the events, as well as the occasional Proud Mode mission itself, and then the certain avatar boards in the past have given Sun Gems, as well as Moon Gems, which are way harder to acquire than a Sun Gem. But my thoughts are, as we move forward, they're going to make these Sun and Moon Gems more available to players, because this game doesn't shirk on its meta. It's like everything keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and then they have to figure out ways to allow newer players to hop into the game without feeling like they're getting left behind. So I think resources like Sun Gems and Moon Gems are going to progressively become easier to obtain. So if you're a new player, I really wouldn't sweat the details on the Sun and Moon Gems, just because you've got so much other catching up to do on the other blades, and it's just not going to be too relevant until you can, like, accrue a lot of resources. So just keep that in mind, that Sun and Moon Gems, they're definitely more for, like, the more frequent and then meta level players than they are for, like, the newer and casual players, because you can definitely get by on the story quest Keyblades, the Starlight, the Stroke of Midnight, and Fairy Stars, which is still the best Keyblade, are all obtainable through the story, and can be leveled up with just regular power, speed, and magic gems. So the Sun and Moon Gems are only really required for, again, that high level end playing. And then the Mickey B's, we talked about those. So let's see, is there anything else I wanted to talk about? So let's talk about this in comparison to a regular avatar board. So these are like regular avatar boards here. So let's take a look. So for 2,500 jewels, you're going to get like skill perk 9, this is just for an example. This is the example here. The title, and then you're going to get 3 max skills on this one. So already we're looking at 3 max skills versus 4 max skills in the other one that costs 3 times as much. You're only getting a power gem versus the sun and the moon gem. So again, the power gem's not as useful because there's a lot of easy ways to obtain these gems. But again, if you are like a more casual player, you only hop in once in a while, you don't really need the sun and moon gems for that super high level and playing. And then it comes with like some Sids, some Chips, some Dales, which are not in the other avatar board. And then not enough magic brooms for even 1 Mickey and broom. So that's like just comparing the two, you know what I mean? I feel like some people can actually benefit from just buying 3 of like the regular avatar boards, because in this case you'd get 9 max skills right out of this. Like you'd get 9 versus the 4 from the other one, and they're not as useful, but you're getting an 8 max and a 7 max and a defense boost 4 max, which is pretty much critical for some of these missions, especially if you need to turtle your way through them or if you need to mitigate damage from PvP. So defense boost 4 max is still the staple for PvP, which sort of makes it better than defense boost 6. And then again, 2 max skills for attacking. So just comparing the two, I feel like some people would really benefit from buying 3 of these avatar boards versus that one massive 7,770 jewel board. So what do I think about this? Is it worth it? I would argue yes, it's worth it to buy the these restoration committee ones. So the Leon, the Yuffie, the Sid, and the Aerith. I'd recommend buying them if you're like a super high level end player, especially one that buys a lot of medals, because odds are you're running out of skills faster than you're able to accrue medals. So I would recommend it if you plan on doing some really high level end playing, if you plan on really pushing in the Coliseum, if you want to do super well in PvP, if you want to clear content like very, very easily, I'd recommend getting these. But again, if you're newer or if you're more of a casual player, I'd probably step aside from these because it's not going to be as useful to you, just because a lot of the stuff in here is for like really high level end players. If you want to just clear the story, if you want to complete the occasional event, I would say probably stick more to the other avatar boards where you could potentially get 3 max skills per board, and for the same amount of jewels that would take for one of these, you can get 9 total max skills. So that's where I feel about this. For me, I feel like a player like me would really benefit from a board like this. It's got Lux Plus Plus in there, which is pretty much the staple for rating nowadays. In order to get Lux, it's got 3 total attack boost, 8 max skills in there. Again, I'm running out of skills to put on my medals, so I'm kind of at a deficit for skills, so I could use something like this. And yeah, that's pretty much what I feel about these avatar boards. It can be worth it to you, it might not. It's really based on how your playstyle is. So if there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I will be happy to answer them when I have the time. But as always, everyone, until the next video, take it easy.